It's October, so that means I'm pretty much contractually obligated to post spooky-related videos. I had hoped that by now the pandemic would be over and I could have more time to work on my channel and create more content and post a lot more Movie Monday videos for horror films, but the United States is just screwed! This is our new reality for the rest of time. Everything is suffering. Yay! Anyway, for the 2 Movie Mondays I do plan on posting this month, I'm gonna make damn sure there are some good ones. Later on this month, you'll be getting a huge chonker of a video that's been in the works for about a year. But today, we're going to be reviewing and discussing The Young Cannibals, a horror film released in 2019 that was produced by my Movie Monday editor, Charlie. Yes, he actually made an honest-to-goodness real film, and I'm so excited to finally be making a video on this. He even had me read through the script and give my opinion on it back before they started filming, which I have to say is honestly one of the most ego-boosting moments when someone asks for my thoughts and feedback in general, but for a legit film script, that's like, whoa. My mind was blown. Although it's just occurred to me, does that mean any problems with the plot are partially my fault? Maybe I didn't think this one through. Anyway, if you'd like to skip the plot overview and get right into my spoiler-free thoughts, you can skip to this timestamp in the video. So with that said, let's get cooking and get right into it. The movie begins with 3 men out in the snowy wilderness. 2 of the men are eating raw meat while the third opts not to partake. I'm sure it's totally fine. I mean, with a film named like The Young Cannibals, it's fine. This is fine. As they're traveling through the woods, 2 of the men see something in the distance causing them to freak out and run. The third just standing there confused. One of the 2 who ran is suddenly grabbed by an invisible monster and gets eviscerated with blood splattering everywhere. We then cut to a couple in a hospital. The girl, Natasha, is a patient with bandages on her wrists, and the boyfriend, Ethan, is visiting for her birthday. He wants her to leave for a camping weekend, but since he can't just waltz out of a psychiatric ward, they have to get past a worker named Tim, who leaves us a wonderful omen for how this film is gonna go with the book he's reading, Pet Sematary, a novel by Stephen King where dead things come back to life. Great! Ethan offers Tim some cupcakes he brought, and they chat about the lemon of a car Ethan just bought that surely won't have future consequences further on. Ethan purposefully spills his coffee on Tim and swipes his key card while he's distracted. After an ensuing chase around the hospital, Ethan and Nat manage to escape, but oh surprise, the car has trouble starting, and Ethan has to push a button thing on the engine. I'm not a car person, okay? Anyway, that gets the car working and they drive off. Nat isn't feeling very positive, but Ethan cheers her up by playing upbeat music and dancing and being all goofy during the long drive. Before they arrive, we meet the rest of the group already at the campsite. There's bratty preppy girl Pippa, uptight religious girl Frances, let's see, no fat shaming, horizontally gifted guy Mike, the edgy twat waffle Cam, and Natasha's big brother Teddy, whom Pippa has a not-so-subtle fondness for. Frances expresses her disappointment in the plan to break Nat out of the hospital while she is still in need of help. It's also mentioned that Nat and Teddy are apparently not on good terms, so that makes it awkward once she and Ethan finally arrive. They all sit around quietly, really a pumpin' birthday celebration, until Ethan gets snippy at Pippa over a form she didn't fill out. Nat goes to mess around with her lighter and setting things on fire in a totally non-concerning way. Frances takes the opportunity to present a birthday gift of a cross necklace and encourages her to continue living. And she also gives Pippa grief for her choice of camping footwear being wedge heels, which Pippa brushes off because why would she ever need to run through the woods? That's just silly. Ethan and Pippa leave to go do form-related things elsewhere at a nearby house belonging to an old man not at all ominously named Blackwood, who is doing creepy basement things like chopping and grinding mystery meat to form into burger patties. Pippa gets the heebie-jeebies from the man's home, but he seems nice, and Ethan gives him the form saying he wants to do something special for his girlfriend's birthday. I have no idea what the form is for or how it works into this. We never find out, I think, or I'm just too dense to realize it outright, but definitely one of the 2. Meanwhile, Nat and Teddy finally talk about their previously sick and now deceased mother because of course there's a dead parent. And he says he would have come back if he knew Nat was in such a bad mental state, but she doesn't believe him and walks off. Cam and Mike have a pack of burgers given to them by Blackwood, even though it was Ethan and Pippa that went there, so no idea how or when the other two showed up, but okay. And they offer some to a stranger as they pass by heading back to their campsite. But the guy knows better than to accept unknown meat from strange people. Cam gets to his meticulous and enthusiastic grilling, and probably my favorite cooking montage in any movie ever. My only complaint is that it's not long enough. I need more. But Cam presents the beautiful looking burgers to his friends who gleefully devour them, with the exception of Mike, who is ironically vegan, and Pippa, who is initially also weirded out by the origins of the burger meat, but eventually caves and eats one after some coaxing from Cam. Later that night around the campfire, everyone is hanging out, and Ethan mentions a present for Natasha in his car that she will get later. She takes the moment to express her appreciation for her friends, but Blackwood arrives and demands that the friends all tie themselves up and points a gun at them. Once they're tied and lined up, he explains there is a monster in the woods who hunts down cannibals and eats them alive. He says it's been after him, and now since they ate the burgers because it was made from human meat, oh my god, I'm so surprised. And he has to feed the monster so it will leave him alone for a while. Blackwood turns his attention to Mike since he didn't eat a burger and forces him to eat some of the meat, but once he spits it out, Blackwood shoots him. Cam charges at him, but Blackwood smashes him in the head with a bottle, then punctures a bag of blood over his own head for some reason and loads the kids into his van. While en route to a mysterious location, Nat uses her lighter to burn away her friend's bindings so they're all untied by the time the van comes to a stop. They open the back door of the van and find Blackwood has gone with the key. Cam sets out into the woods to find him while the others try to go after him. Cam, alone, sees a monster, which we never learned the official name of this monster, but it's a Wendigo, so I'll just refer to it as such from this point forward. Anyway, the Wendigo approaches Cam and we hear his very squishy death off screen. There's a sudden and kind of a jarring cut to midday where Teddy is apparently sick of searching after doing so all night and wants to go back to the van. After some arguing and a near altercation with Ethan, Teddy walks away with Nat following him. He apologizes for leaving her and their mother, and while Nat spills her heart out about their mother's final days, Teddy sees something in the brush and we see from its perspective that it's eyeing him as well. Until Nat gets annoyed that he's not listening and storms off back to the group. It's beginning to get dark once more and tensions are high again. Pippa has fallen behind, but Teddy and Ethan are too busy fighting with each other to take much notice. She's having a breakdown, but Francis finds some ruins of an old building they can stay at for the night. Ethan suggests that Teddy stay outside and stand watch, which he refuses, but ends up doing anyway. He thinks he sees something in the distance, but once again gets interrupted, this time by Francis, who says she is hopeful that they will make it out of this situation a-okay, even though she seems to briefly get spooked by something, but brushes it off and goes to sleep. Teddy starts to nod off when he notices a creepy hand creeping along a fence wall, and he moves into the doorway to have a cigarette when he hears a growl and wakes the others. Nat sees the Wendigo and screams, so everyone runs off in different directions and gets separated. In the chaos, Frances falls and breaks her leg with the bone popping out. Ew. She is found by Ethan and Pippa, who drag her away until they meet up with Teddy and Nat. Nat sees the monster again, but it disappears before the others can turn around. Now, I thought for sure at this point the others would have mentioned something about her imagining things and making some jab about her mental health not being in the greatest state, since she's the only one who's seen the Wendigo and lived so far. But that doesn't happen. Bit of a wasted opportunity if you ask me, but I guess we're still supposed to like everyone for now so we can be sad when they all inevitably die. Ethan tells Pippa and Nat to run ahead while he and Teddy carry Frances, but Teddy panics and runs away like a little bitch baby, leaving Ethan alone with Frances. He looks around trying to find the Wendigo while Frances desperately tries to pray, but when he looks back down, she is gone, leaving only her cross necklace behind. Ethan finds Nat and Pippa, eventually stumbling on a campsite belonging to the stranger from earlier, who is just as receptive to their pleas for help as he was to the mystery meat burgers before. He points a gun at them and tells them to leave, but Nat demands he help them. So they all form a circle around the fire, quietly facing the woods until Nat turns to Stranger Dude. Yes, that's what I'm calling him, because I don't think we ever learn his actual name. And she asks why he decided to help them. Probably because you told him to? This is just a guess. I thought that would be obvious. Pippa suddenly starts panicking and talking nonsense, so Stranger Dude tells her to shut up and demands they all leave again. And this guy's kind of a flake. The Wendigo approaches, but Stranger Dude can't see it because he's not a cannibal. So Ethan lunges for the gun to shoot at it, but in the scuffle, the Wendigo disappears briefly and then attacks Ethan. It starts eating him alive, but the Stranger Dude can't see, so he doesn't shoot until it's too late and Ethan is mega dead. Stranger Dude gets knocked aside, and the Wendigo is about to get the girls, but Teddy arrives and grabs the gun to shoot it. Stranger Dude can't get up, so he tells them to take his bag and run, so they do. They attempt to evade the monster, but Teddy takes a flashlight and uses himself as bait to distract it and lure it away from the girls. Nat wants to go after him, much to Pippa's dismay and insistence he's already dead. We then see Teddy running through the woods being stalked by the monster for an exceptionally long time until it finally grabs him. Meanwhile, the girls are walking through the woods until they hear a female voice shouting, and they finally decide to check the pack that has a flare inside and light it, giving everything a spooky yet badass red glow. They go investigate the voice, which leads them to the Wendigo's den, where they find many human remains, Cam's dead body, and a still alive Francis. She tells them to run or else the Wendigo will eat them alive, and Nat figures out the monster will leave them alone if it thinks they're already dead, which is why Blackwood covered himself in blood to conceal himself what seems like forever ago. Nat goes over to Cam's body and slathers herself with his guts and blood, but Pippa can't bring herself to do it. They have to leave Francis, promising to come back for her, but spoiler alert, they don't, just before the flare burns out. Nat and Pippa run through the woods with the ladder, just on the verge of giving up. They hide and close their eyes, waiting for the Wendigo to show up, but just when they think it's gone, it appears and bites out Pippa's throat, and Nat runs away. She trips and falls because, duh, this is a horror movie, but stays down, pretending to be dead so the Wendigo will move on and go past her. It does investigate her, but as anyone covered in entrails, she probably smells pretty gross, so it actually leaves her all alone in the woods by herself. As she's walking along, she finds the flashlight that Teddy had along with his body and starts angrily shouting to the monster to come get her. Teddy is just barely clinging to life and says she is strong and brave so she can make it out of this and tells her not to give up. And the siblings make amends before Teddy asks her to kill him so he won't be alive when the monster inevitably returns for him. Nat does as her brother asks, finding a large rock and bashing his head in, then sets off on her own again. Eventually, she makes her way to a road and follows it until she finds their original campsite and gets into Ethan's car, and of course it won't start. So she opens Ethan's present for her, which is a framed photo of her and her mom. Nat goes into Blackwood's house in a rage with a broken piece of the bottle he smashed Cam with earlier, then goes down to his meat basement and is repulsed by all the tools and human remains. Back upstairs, Blackwood finds her and asks her to see the situation from his perspective, having been in a plane crash and forced to eat another person to survive, being the scene we saw at the beginning, and summoning the monster and causing it to follow him. He encourages Nat to do the same as him, make people cannibals to save herself, but she says she's not like him and stabs him in the gut with a sharp bottle piece. He overpowers her and starts to beat her, but then the Wendigo arrives and kills Blackwood and chases Nat through the house. She jumps out the second-story window to get back to the car, which obviously still won't start, so she has to get out and push the button thingy on the engine to get it working. The Wendigo appears behind the car, but she manages to start the car and drive off before angrily turning around and facing down the monster. Nat stomps on the gas and runs over the Wendigo, and we don't even get to see the impact? It just cuts to black and shows the aftermath. I know this film had a low budget and needed to work with what they had, but damn, not gonna lie, that's pretty disappointing. Anyway, the damn thing gets back up and now the car is fucked again, so it busts through the window with the poppy music accidentally getting turned on from the stereo, and Nat scampers away. She runs to the gas nozzle, then flicks on her lighter to throw it into the gas tank, causing the car to explode and burst into flames with the Wendigo inside the car, which we do get to see this time. Okay, I take it back. This makes up for missing the shot of the monster getting run over. Nat walks off with a picture of her and her mother burning, and she goes back to the office of the psych hospital, still covered in gore, and requests to be checked back in. In a post-credits scene, we see the smoldering wreckage of the car and hear the Wendigo growl from inside. This movie is awful. I hate it. 1.37 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm kidding, obviously. I couldn't resist because I know Charlie's going to be editing this. If you've been around my channel for any length of time, you likely know that I tend not to do very well with any sort of media in the horror genre, partly because I usually don't do so well with the spooks, and because more often than not, modern Hollywood horror films tend to fall flat for various reasons. A lot of times because the filmmakers are seriously overthinking the plot and making it way more complicated than it needs to be. This is why, in my opinion, some of the best horror movies are of the campy variety. Those that might have a more cheesy plot, even some humorous moments, but still provide a decent amount of scares and suspense without the film taking itself too seriously. Especially when they just keep it simple and don't do some weird, outlandish twist or try way too hard to be unique and original. Movies like Evil Dead, Scream, The Cabin in the Woods. They might be gimmicky, even a little over the top at times, but also very clever and self-aware. They likely aren't the best critically, but they provide some of the greatest entertainment and make for very memorable cult classics. And The Young Cannibals is exactly like these sort of campy horror films. It is very imperfect. There are certainly parts where it is more noticeable that this is their first venture into the filmmaking world. For example, some of the cuts are weird and can be jarring at times. Occasionally, continuity errors like people teleporting around between shots. Some of the actors aren't the most fantastic. But the beauty of this being a campy film that isn't the most serious of serious is that it can get away with those sorts of things. Even to the extent that it adds to the charm of the movie. There are plenty of goofy moments like a very enthusiastic burger grilling montage that I just absolutely adore. But there are still moments that are tense and excellent at building suspense. It's a perfect balance, especially for people like me who want to enjoy horror but are too much of a weenie to partake in the usual gratuitous jump scares of modern Hollywood. Honestly, even if one of my friends wasn't involved in making this film, I would still like it a lot. There are parts that genuinely remind me of some of the earlier Stephen King adaptations, and there's some nice attention to detail, like a missing hiker's poster on a car windshield that doesn't get acknowledged by any characters but we still catch a glimpse of it, or someone reading a Stephen King novel, or having a horror film character as a keychain. I just love cute little Easter eggs like that. And at the same time, there's also some goofy banter and very amusing stereotypes like the bratty girl who wears high heels and does her makeup on a camping trip, but then some of those stereotypes also get broken, like the overweight guy who is a vegan and eats a salad instead of a burger. This movie might not be the best critically, but it's just fun. And I can absolutely see it becoming a cult classic. Perfect for a Halloween movie marathon with friends. And quite frankly, even if this movie was utter shit, which it definitely isn't, I'm still so super proud of Charlie for this major accomplishment. I mean, I made crappy little 10-minute student films when I was in school, and even that was a colossal pain in the rear end. But this is such an achievement! I've known Charlie for about 7 years now, and I know this was a big deal to him for a long time, and I'm so proud of you, man. You did great, and I cannot wait to see what you make next. So because of this, I'm giving The Young Cannibals my real score of 7 out of 10. You can check out this film for yourself, which I highly recommend you do, available on home media and various streaming services. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions for movies you'd like me to discuss and review in the future. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you have not already, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!